Hey guys, how are you today?
Doing
Good.
well.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Congratulations on the film. I know this has kind of been a long stretch talking about this movie. I mean, it debuted in Cannes. It feels like forever ago, and it's been on the festival circuits, and it's done so well. But I want to ask you. It started off as a short. When did you guys, Mike? Why don't you start off with this one? When did you guys decide that you had more to say and it became a feature?
Pretty much right away. I mean, once I had this initial idea of someone, a friend revealing that he slept with his best friend's ex-girlfriend on a bike ride, and then it being this sort of comedic, chase up a hill. And we toyed around with that. And we thought it was really fun, and immediately we started talking about this dynamic and these characters. There's a story in this. There's a lot more to explore, and so I think we really from day one we were thinking of the short as more of a proof of concept for like a longer story and a feature. And then we made the short, and then it got into Sundance, and that allowed us to really go to Sundance with like a fully fleshed out feature that we could we were hoping that we could sell the idea is someone on that they would make it with us.
Yeah. So Kyle, do you think that if the two of you hadn't been such great pals, you wouldn't have been able to make this? Because you guys put up with you especially put up with a lot.
I think the good thing is that we've been working together for almost 10 years. So I think that really enabled us to make the movie in a way that sort of kept what we want, our initial intention intact. And I think that was more of an important factor than our personal relationship spilling into the dynamics of the movie. But I think having, working with a close friend certainly helps, because you have that shorthand where you're just like, I know when you're happy, I know when you're mad, I know when it's working, you have that sort of friendship shorthand.
So what kind of, as you were developing it, and I love the way that you did it in the vignettes too, because it's I think it's more powerful that way. But I wanted to know, as you were developing this, did you guys get into arguments about things that were going on in this? Like you say, you don't want it to really spill into your real life, but it had to have, I think.
Well, I mean, it's you get into arguments about the scenes and what's going
just in general, even about what you guys were.
We get into arguments about everything, but I think never like never in a place that crosses the line. I don't think, because it's always coming from a place of creative, like we have this shared common goal of making a film. So like I might have a point of view on a scene, and he might have another point of view on a scene, and we might butt heads for a day or two on it, and then finally work it out. But that's like, there's this shared understanding that we're trying to create something, and so there's never any animosity in that. I think,
right.
And we're pretty, I think we keep a pretty healthy relationship on the friendship side of things, where like, we work together in really intense, periods of time. Like, we'll shoot a movie for 3 months, and then we'll like take a break, and we'll
Right.
give each other some space, and then we'll come back together for the next thing. And so I think that's been really, on the friendship side, that's just made it, strangely, I think we've come out of this thing with a healthier friendship than I could ever imagine, just because, we've just learned to balance everything.
Yeah, I think when you're working with a friend, if you can argue, you can get sort of as angry as you want if it's about an objective thing.
Yeah.
I think where it starts getting messy is when you redirect it towards the other person and like their personality, and then it sort of spirals off into unproductive sort of wildness.
Yeah, if he doesn't like an idea I have in the scene, but then attacks me personally for it, then it's like, okay. And Kyle doesn't do that. I might do that to him sometimes, but Kyle definitely doesn't do that to me.
But I think that's the difference. I think friends and anyone, you can debate things healthily, and we shouldn't be afraid of, having differences of opinions on things.
Yeah.
As long as we're talking about that thing and debating its merits and values instead of attacking each other.
Or even in general, I think there's something so beautiful about like with anything, if you can disagree on something and still appreciate the other person and have a conversation with them and be like, okay, cool. You feel that you think this, I think this, let's just, and continue the conversation without getting like personally, offended to a degree where you need to stop talking. I think that's where we always come from, is like anything's on the table.
Right.
We can fight, talk, agree, disagree about anything, but we're always going to talk it through, and we're going to get to a place at the end where we've settled it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because I think pretty much answered, but I was going to ask, like, how did your relationship change after making this? But to me, it sounds like it's grown stronger.
Yeah, I mean, if the
truthfully.
movie wasn't successful, we definitely would not be sitting on this couch together. I assure you. So it might just be a testament to the movie working out, because it might have just blown the whole thing up if
Oh, it's so funny.
if it was sitting on a drive somewhere at my house.
Right, right. That's hilarious. And you have some good people in that add to it. It's not just the two of you. Like George Wendt, getting George Wendt. Come on, that's
Yeah, he's
amazing.
It was a home run.
George's the best.
He's such a great human being, but also such a great actor in that, you know, these are long takes. So it's a heavy demand for all of the actors to say, listen, you're going to sit, you know, staring at a turkey for 5 minutes, and then you have to hit your line, you know what I mean? Or your series of lines from minute 5 to 7. And this is true with all actors, but George especially, like you'd be in a scene with him and he never was not in it. He was great.
Yeah.
So 100% of the time.
But that comes from his background in theater, and you know, he's a live performer, right? So when you're dealing with people who did a ton of theater and improv and things like that, it's like it's like candy for them to even just be in, you know, the way we shot this film was very theatrical and felt very live. And so I think he really enjoyed that, even if there were a lot of scenes where he was like a bit player in it, or you know, wasn't the centerpiece of the conversation of what was going on.
So I want to know what your advice is. What is the key to a good bromance?
Oh, I mean, I guess the key for us was to never think of it as a bromance, but if that's like, it truly was. I mean, for us, we talked about this film as just a love story, you know, between these two friends. So it was really, we structured it like any other love story, I think, and we discussed it in terms of other love stories, which if you think about a lot of friendships, they really are love stories. It's just you sort of remove the sex, or, you know, or keep the sex in if you really want to, but like, you know, you remove the sex, but you keep the emotions, and you keep the arguments, and you keep all the betrayal and all those things, and you still get, you know, a story that is worthwhile, that people want to go down the road of watching and root for these people to come back together. At least that was our hope, right? So
yeah. I mean, it's strong, right? Because of all the stuff that, you know, Kyle, that Mike puts you through and everything, and you still remain his friend. Like a lot of people wouldn't put up with that garbage, you know?
I mean, you think that's, but I would argue that maybe people do. But the crazy thing is that if you start looking at your friendships around you, and we obviously inspected all of our friendships, where you're like, you know what? People put up with a lot, especially with the passing of time.
Yeah.
And like, you'd be amazed at what you know, what friendships go through and relationships go through and still manage to survive.
We've had a lot of people come up to us after like screenings at festivals and stuff, and I remember this one woman came up to me and she was like, I don't buy that they would stay friends. And I was like, okay, that's fair. That's a totally fair assessment. And I was like, she's like, he would never, like, I would just never talk to him again. I was, oh, okay. I was like, well, and then we just started talking. I was like, well, have you ever had someone like who's, you know, she's like, and then we started talking about her life. And she's like, you know, I had this person, blah, 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 did this, da, da, da. And then they were like, by the end of it, they were explaining to me how they still talk to this person. They're still in their life. And I'm like, but so that's still your friend? She's like, yeah, we've worked through it. It's been really hard, but like, we're friends, you know, and we talk. I'm like, cool. I'm like, congrats. And I didn't even like point out the idea that like, you just said that you have someone in your life who's like this. But so I think there's also that other element of, you know, just it's hard often to look at like an objective thing that other people are going on, but then also put it on yourself, you know?
And I think the thing is that it's a movie, right? So the stakes are high because it's entertaining. You want to watch the crazy version, but I think that there's echoes of each of these characters that people see. Like the number of people who come up to us and are like, oh my God, I have a Kyle in my life, or I have a Mike in my life, you know, and I think they take the sort of over dramatized version of that and find maybe something at some harmonic of it and resonate.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we go, Mike, I have to commend you for your role in News of the World. How the heck cool was that? Working with Paul Greengrass and Tom Hanks, and that Helena, like she was just fantastic in that film. But my God, come on, really? It's a great.
It was amazing. I mean, no, Helen is like, I would sit next to her in the makeup chair and I'd be like, this girl is a star. I mean, she is so ahead of her everything. She's just like, but yeah, I mean, it was that was like a dream come true, right? It was one of those. I'm still pinching myself that I got to have that experience at the time when I got to have it. But yeah, I mean, I was on the side of a mountain shooting guns, like with Tom Hanks, you know, in a shootout, like that alone. I remember standing there, like in between takes, I was like, how did this happen? Or like, I mean, even if this is the only time I ever get to do this, it's a pretty cool career I've chosen, you know, like
I'd
that.
say. Like, yeah, honestly, because when I saw that you popped up in that movie, I'm like, holy mackerel. I mean, and to play the bad guy. Yeah, exactly. And to shoot Tom Hanks, like, come on. It doesn't get any better than that.
Totally. Well, we were talking, he's like, yes. I was like, oh man, this is my first shootout. Or like, I was like joking, like, yeah, I've never done a shootout. He's like, yeah, I've never done a shootout. I was like, what are you talking about? You're Tom Hanks. Of course you know a shootout. He's like, not really. And then I started like going through my head and I was like, oh, I guess like maybe Road to Perdition. Like when, like I'm sure he's done shootouts, but like that was like his first proper
Western,
proper
shootout.
like, oh, this is a shootout.
Yeah, it was
Really
cool.
cool.
It was really good. Well, listen, thanks so much for your time today, guys. I love The Climb. It's such a great film. And just take care of yourself, stay healthy, stay safe, and come visit us in Toronto post-pandemic, okay?
We'll be up there. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Bye-bye.